Good evening, and welcome to Ever Increasing Life Ministry, Training in the Word segment. We're so excited that you have joined us and are part of our broadcast as we outline the Word of God, illustrating through principles and life examples, principles that will help change life situations, life conditions, and cause you to have victory in everyday living. Today we're talking about relationship therapy, or therapy for relationship. These segment of teachings, even though they are our midweek services, are designed as a sit-down, one-on-one conversational, instructive, counseling type sessions, which are designed to help you to look into yourself, look into your own situation, and begin to notice the things that you are facing, situations that need to be changed in your life. Today, I believe, as we teach upon relationship therapy, it is one of the biggest things that all of us face in life is dealing with relationships outside of finances and physical health, because we all also have family issues, family situations or challenges. Tonight we're talking about relationship therapy based upon fix yourself. That's what we're talking about. Fix yourself. In relationships, we deal with authority, power figures, attitudes. And the key thing that in a relationship is learning how to fix yourself. In most professions, whether it's from football, golf, baseball, we deal with the challenges of sports where you have oppositions or another person that you are challenging. The thing that you have to deal with is controlling your atmosphere, your space, your attitude. And the thing about every relationship is personal attitude. It's personal attitude. So I want you to get ready, get your pen and your pad and begin to take notes, because you can fix your relationship by beginning to fix self. Work on yourself. Work on your attitude. And this is for both parties. And that becomes a challenge in relationships, is because of the fact many times we have one person working on the relationship, problem solving, fixing the relationship, want the relationship, want to make the relationship work. And then sometimes there's two, so we want the relationship to work, but we're not putting the time in or the effort in to fix ourselves. I came up with the thought about fix yourself because we're also going to be talking about toxic relationships. And it's what it's going to lead us into. Jesus was challenged, not so much challenged, I would have to say, challenged with the statement of you heal others, so heal yourself. One of the centurion soldiers asked him, say, well, you heal other people, you deliver other people, so fix yourself, deliver yourself out of this situation. And it was been very sarcastic of a statement, but yet it had truth in it, because Jesus could have fixed that situation a different way if he wanted to. But he knew the Father's will, so he continued with the Father's will for him to go all the way through to the cross, to death, to burial, to resurrection and ascension. And so what we're saying to you is tonight that you have the ability to fix yourself, which also can fix your relationship when both persons are engaged in fixing themselves more than trying to control the other person. And that becomes one of the issues that many relationships are dealing with is the spirit of control. The spirit of control, not self-control, but controlling the other person. And this is where we deal with toxic relationships. Relationships that are not healed, or persons that are not healed, which are now engaged in a relationship, but the person individually, they are dealing with issues but refusing to get the help they need to fix themselves. And that is very cause the relationship become very toxic, because the individual person is in denial that they need help, that they are struggling with inner challenges, that they need outside help to fix. So they continue to struggle with denial, and that causes relationships to become very toxic. Now, this toxic condition evolves from many different areas. So let's pause there for a second, because we need to understand that people are not born toxic. They become toxic through a culture, through an environment. So understanding what your mate is wrestling with, understanding what they are dealing with on the inside, is that they come from a toxic environment. Whether they picked it up from parents, other siblings, or neighborhood that they grew up in, schoolyard bullying going on, or whatever, they have low self-esteem about themselves, or they had to fight for their space. They were always on the defensive side of things, always having to fight to protect themselves about situation, again, their space. And so a lot of what we as adults deal with come from our culture, our surrounding, our environment again. That's where it comes from. It comes from also areas where people deal with rejection. They deal with hurts. And these are strong areas that have influenced one's emotions, one's feelings, one's self-esteem, or identity about themselves, or self-worth about themselves, or bringing them in a place where they had to try to control others through intimidation, through violence, to fight for their space. So you may be dealing with someone who's toxic because of these different areas I've just mentioned that have caused them to be like they are. Very angry, very bitter, very violent.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Loud about certain things in their life. So we deal with those things. So we need to come to the place where we have to understand the issues. The issues. This is why I really want you to understand why courtship, for those who are single, why you have to become watchful, alert, or conscious of one's that you're engaging with for a relationship. Become conscious of their behavior. Become conscious of certain issues. Because when you overlook the issues, become in denial of the issues that exist in a person, and figure, this is gonna pass. I'm gonna help them get through this. This is just a temporary moment in their life, and not looking at these persons have issues, and you ignore those serious issues, then you're putting yourself in a position that you're gonna have to live with those issues. And this is why relationships, courtship, give you the position that if you see red flags or you see those issues, this is the area where you must say, listen, we have a problem. We have something that I'm not willing to live with or put up with. That has to be identified. You have to be real with yourself about that person's issues. Because you're talking about your atmosphere, your space, your mind, your peace, the rest of your life, being connected with someone who have certain issues that are deeper than you can help them fix. So now you come into a place where if you're in denial of these things, you're coming to the place of being tolerant of those issues, putting up with it, which begin over time is going to frustrate you. They're going to frustrate you. You're going to get angry. You're going to get tired of going through it. And then you're going to start looking for a way out of the relationship if he or she doesn't get in the help to fix it. And one of the things I learned about people is the idea you cannot help people who don't want help, who don't want to help themselves. They'd rather live that way and go through 3 or 4, 5 or 6 relationships without trying to fix themselves. So it's important, it's vital that you understand that if you're single and you're in courtship, don't get so caught up in the romance that you cannot see the red flags that will later on surface when the honeymoon is over and we have to deal with real life, real issues under one roof, dealing with equal paychecks or two paychecks being one, dealing with issues that goes on in that person's life. So being real and upfront is important when you're going through premarital counseling or whatever, to let the counselor know what you're dealing with. And don't try to hide his faults or her faults when you're in those situations, when you know they exist, and you lie to yourself saying, I'm going to be able to handle this, I'm going to be able to fix it, whether they have a drug issue, whether they have an alcohol issue, whether they have an anger issue, whether they have an abuse issue, whether they have a verbal abusive speaking to you, language, verbal abuse. You're going to have to be real with yourself, because you're entangling your future, your life is being entangled in these situations. So toxic people, again, come from backgrounds of culture or abusive or rejections that have caused that person to become bitter, angry, abusive, verbal or physical, abusive. It comes from a culture, an environment that he or she grew up in. And many times it comes from the music they listen to, the broad television they watch. All of those things program the human mind and human emotions and feelings and choices. And I made a statement. This is why protecting the young life, the youth of our children is so important. What we allow them to listen to, what environment we put them in, what we allow them to watch on television, and what we allow them to see us as husband and wives, how we interact. All of those things are crucial because it affects the way one thinks, as well as the way they're going to behave and how they're going to interact with others, because it is learned by visual. They're visual learning, and it affects the emotions and feelings of the very young. They are affected by it. So these are things that you got to take in note, that if you're dealing with someone who is abusive, someone who's a compulsive liar, someone who is verbal abusive, if you look deeper into that background, you'll find out that they came from a place of hurt, injury, rejection, or always having to fight for their space. Always have to fight for their space. And they came as adults and never got help. And so now they're dealing with this thing that had been gripping their hearts all their life, and now it's playing out in their adulthood, in their attitude, in their actions and behavior. Let's go further. Let's look at this. Toxic people, again, must take responsibility and get help. Make a note of that. Toxic people must take responsibility to get help. It's necessary. If the relationship is going to last 50 years, 60 years, 70 years in life, then we have to fix our attitudes, our temperament. We have to fix it. It doesn't change by itself because we get older. No, it doesn't change that way. It changed because we work on it. We get the help we need to fix our situation. The inner self, the real me, the inner man, the way I think, feel, and emotion, the soulish man, got to get fixed. If my behavior or course of action is going to change, I have to fix my soulish man, the inner man. Toxic relationships or toxic people, again, wrestle with insecurity. They are very insecure. Again, it comes from, culture, hurt, injury, rejection, have to fight for their position. Keep that in mind about everything we're talking about. This is where it stems from. This is where it stems from. It comes from that background history. Insecure people have little confidence. They have little confidence and are uncertain about their own abilities or if other people really like them. That's insecurity. They're always looking for affirmation. They always have to be confirmed because they feel inadequate. They feel that they don't fit. They feel that they need other people around them to make them secure, and they wrestle with their identity, their confidence level. Many times you hear the word low self-esteem. They wrestle with these things. And because they wrestle with those things, it is always played out in their behavior. How they treat you, how they talk to you, how they relate to you. This is where it comes from. Insecurity. Also, toxic relationships, which are individual who make up relationships. So toxic people, they also are abusive. Verbal and physical abusive. And this comes to the place of trying to control the other person that they're in relationship with, so they always can feel in control. By controlling the other person or belittling the other person, verbal or physical, it makes them feel bigger or in control. And this is where a lot of relationships come into abusiveness because of low self-esteem and because they're injured and don't know why they're angry. They're angry and don't know why. Just angry. Always fighting, striking out. Then they're not at the place where they receive correction easy. They're always debative because they feel that the other person is trying to belittle them and make them feel small, and if they don't know. And so that causes them to become very offensive. And they begin to strike back, strike out to control that other person. Why? They're fighting for their environment, their surrounding, their atmosphere. They back at that fight on the school ground again, back on the school campus, fighting for your environment because of the fact you come from a culture or a home where you felt rejected, you felt hurt, you felt that nobody really cared for you. A lot of people are dealing with those issues even as adults today. So you have to be very mindful in your courtship that you're not all goosebumps about meeting someone or got someone in your life. Your eyes of understanding need to be in light. You need to be aware. You need to be focused. Where is this relationship going? And who's in this relationship? I need to meet the real you. Not the one that always want to go on a date, go to a movie, bring in flowers. No, I need the real you that I'm going to be interacting with, doing business with in this relationship. And then it's the other thing I need to understand. What are you bringing in the relationship from your past? We're going to talk about this second. That's kind of getting ahead of where I want to go. But we're going to talk about that situation because of the fact when we have had prior relationships, we're bringing those social experiences that we've had with those past relationships into the now present new relationship that they're in. And they still can be very toxic because, again, here's their place of rejection. Here's their place where somebody didn't accept them. Here's the place where someone left them. You see, someone broke their heart. Someone found out that you got issues, man. I don't want to deal with that woman. You got issues. I don't want to deal with those issues. And because I'm not trying to fix myself and pointing the finger and blaming the other person, I keep moving from relationship to relationship and wonder why I can't stay in one. Why I can't stay in one over 6 months, over a year, before it breaks off. Before I get all these feelings rush back in my life again. My time is up. I need to get out of here. They're replaying in a time span. Many of them 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years in a relationship. That's long enough for them. Why? Because it goes back to prior relationships where they got injured, where they got hurt, and they walked away from people because of emotional feelings or whatever those situations were. They walked in the relationship, and because they already have a prior experience that's 3 months was as long as I had a relationship, or 6 months was as long as I had a relationship, or a year or 2 years, because they've had those prior experience at that 3 month mark, a 9 month mark, or a year mark, a 2 year mark, those emotions, because they're now in the subconscious of the emotions and feeling, at that point, it goes off like a time bomb or a time alarm clock. It goes off on the inside of them, and they get all these feelings rushed back in their life, in their minds, in the emotion, and they start playing the drama all over again, and they rush out of the relationship because they don't know how to deal with the emotions and the feelings of rejection. And the reality is, the relationship they're in may not even be doing that. It may not be a real experience, but because it's a prior experience, that emotion rushes through them. A lot of us deal with that in a whole lot of things. With dieting. We're dealing with eating habits. We're dealing with our exercise habit. We start exercising, trying to lose weight. We 2 months into it, 3 months into it, man, we're doing good. But all of a sudden now we lose the fire, we lose the energy, the excitement about exercising, and all of a sudden we stop. Then 3 months later, 6 months later, next year sometime, we make another resolution and we begin to do it all over again. And in 3 months, we stop again. Why am I going through this drama of stopping at this 3 month period? Because I have a experience from an emotional experience inside of me I have not dealt with. And that's the emotion of quitting. When it doesn't feel good, when I feel like I can't go any further, I quit. And that's one of the things people do. And so it is the same cycle dealing with our emotional low self-esteem or toxic relationship. It's the idea is people go through the same drama in these relationships because people have prior hurts, prior injuries, prior rejections, and they have not dealt with them, and it plays on a time clock, and it goes off every 3 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years. It goes off, and they quit. And you wonder why I can't get to you. Why you acting like this? And so sometimes the innocent goes on a guilt trip and feel guilty because they figure they're the reason why this person is acting like this, not realizing this person is doing this or acting like this is because they have a prior issue that they have not dealt with. They have not dealt well, not doing well with it, and they need help. They need help, and sometimes the mate is not the one they need to be talking to. Sometimes it is, but sometimes somebody needs a stronger voice on the outside, person they trust, they have confidence in, that they can allow that person to see into them, open up to that person, and let that person give them strong authority, wisdom, so they can break free out of this situation. They need help. Good people just injured. Okay, number 3 thing about toxic people, not only insecure, not only abusive, but they're also over excessive jealousy. Over excessive jealousy. This is a part of their control. This is a part of their control. They are very jealous. If it's a male and he's very jealous of his wife or his mate, then he becomes very protective, and he'd rather have his mate isolated to make him feel secure. I mean, she could be around some of her cousins, male guys, and they're friends, and he'll feel very insecure about that, and he's ready to leave the party, he's ready to leave the football game, he's ready to leave whatever because of his insecurity, and because that insecurity produces jealousy. And they become very protective, and they begin to isolate their mates, male or female, is because of their insecurity. They become so time conscious of where you are, where you're supposed to be, why you wasn't there, I called you, why you didn't answer your phone. They become very suspicious of looking at your phone almost as they're trying to control you to make them feel safe. And that's again a toxic person who is very insecure. And they become very over jealous. This is a dangerous area because suspicion rises to the occasion where their minds give them situations that are not even real. Their mind begin to play games on them, and the emotion switches from a Dr. Hecker and Hyde. All of a sudden, they're a whole different person. Just a snap of a finger. I mean, you're sitting here laughing, you're talking at one time, you're really enjoying the day, and all of a sudden, boom, they snap, and their mind goes somewhere else. Because they have this toxic injury, this rejection, and have insecurity about themselves, and figure that they need you to always be hugged up with somebody, and controlling the issue, and controlling that person, that these people are dangerous. These people will hurt you. So you have to be very careful that when you're in courtship, again, I point out courtship is the place where you really have to be awakened to purpose, awareness to what you want, who you're looking for, what kind of person you want in your life. These are the questions you have to ask yourself, because once we get in this house away from family and we're in this house, who knows if you're being bullied by your mate, or you're being abused, you're being locked in a room, or locked in a bathroom while they go to the store. All kind of crazy stuff goes on in these relationships because of insecurity, because of over jealousy, because they're injured from childhood situations, in rejection. And then now come from childhood, you could be in midlife crisis that you're dealing with, and have an emotional turmoil or a drama about yourself because you was married for 15 years, 20 years, and all of a sudden you got a divorce. You know, as the children got grown, or he walked away when the baby was born. Anything like that can bring a person into a place of insecurity, over jealousy, abusive, and become offensive because they was injured. And when you're dealing with injured people who don't want help, you're going to have to deal with the injury, because of the fact you're so caught up in the romance that you're not looking at the red flags of their behavior. You have to do not be in denial when people are having issues, because those issues they are real. They are real life issues, and they just don't go away. You have to get help. You have to deal with them. You have to talk about it. You have to pray about it. You have to come to the place where I need help in this situation. Okay. Let's move to the point of understanding that time is your time. I'm going to make this note. Time is your safety zone if you trust it. Time is your safety zone if you trust it. And where we're coming from in this point is to understand why relationships are healthy and long-lasting, and why relationships are short-term and very disturbing. And then again, I warn you, I take you back. Everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning. Somewhere, the two persons who's now in a relationship bring their attitudes, their thought life, their experiences from two different worlds into this one world where God said the two shall become one. And we're cohabitating and we're trying to get in this place where we get on the same page, think alike, move as one man in the relationship, speak as one man in this relationship, so we can have a lasting relationship that's on one accord and very progressive, very exciting, very loving, very forgiving, very romantic, financial stability. I mean, it has the wow factor because these two persons who's now one have worked on themselves, come from environments, had to work on themselves, develop themselves, and come into one understanding and understand their purpose, what their goals are, what their visions are, and they work good as a team with their strengths and their weaknesses. With their strengths and their weaknesses. So when we talk about time is our safety zone, we're saying that time proves everything. Time proves everything. Not always are anyone going to go in a relationship where they are 100% sure of everything about this other person. None of us really do. If you're 80% sure, man, you're doing good. I mean, you're 80% sure, hey, this is the one, this is the rest of my life, and we both in here like this, and man, look, we're going to do good. Because we're going to be able to work on some little issues, about the toothpaste and picking the shoes up or whatever. We're going to work on those minor issues. But the idea is when there are inner issues that deal with anger and abusiveness and unforgiveness and selfishness, these are things that become great issues that takes a deeper inner turn, insight that we need to turn within and deal with some inner issues that could be very toxic for the future of our relationship. Now, I said this, and I'm repeating this again. The time is your safety zone because time proves all things, whether the motive was real or not, whether the intent was real or not. Time proves it. So we're going to have to understand in our singleness, in our courtship, why is it important? I'm talking to single people because a lot of times people who are married now, you went to these stop signs and these red flags without paying attention, and now you're experiencing.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Now you're experiencing these situations. It's my computer talking. So we're dealing with some things. Okay? We're dealing with some things in that area. Let me cut this off.
Okay, let me know if there's
You're talking, and they're listening to you while you talk. Okay? And yet you're not even mashing the buttons. Computers. Here's the thing we need to understand. Why courtship is so important. Why parenting is so important. Because it's in the parenting that we grow our kids up and our children up to become men and women of integrity. We're going to become one day a husband, become a wife, become a father, or become a mother. We grow them up to be responsible. But when we grow them up in a toxic environment, because we didn't know, we didn't understand, we are creating generational patterns that can become very disturbing. Many times we'll call it, in Christendom, called generational curses. Because nobody's seen to stay married in these relationships. Everybody abusive in the relationship. We find people going to prison in these relationships. Why these homes going through this is because Nobody have taken the time out to deal with issues that are happening within individuals. The issues that are happening. The environment that we're growing each other in, how we're talking to each other, what we're listening to, what we're watching, how we're behaving and communicating with each other. I don't know, many of you may have come from homes that are where people just yell at each other all the time. And so now you're a grown woman or a grown man and you yelling. Where'd that come from? It comes from the culture. It comes from the environment. You was raised in an environment where people yell at each other or where people drank all the time. Whatever that environment was, it was using verbal abuse, curse, a lot of cursing. Whatever that is, your children pick that up and they translate that as the right way I'm supposed to behave, and they take that over into the relationship, and that relationship become toxic because they got it from the culture. They got it from the environment. So let's move on, because again, everything starts from somewhere. No matter how this picture grows, we got to go back to the seed of where it starts from. We got to be able to change that seed in order to change the new foundation, or the new growth, or the new environment, or the new relationships we want to have. You got to change the seed of thought. So somebody got to get help to change their thinking. Again, time is our safety zone. It reveals the truth. It reveals the motive, if they love you or themselves. If they love you or themselves, it's revealed through time. But you can also catch that during courtship if you're not rushing into marriage and rushing into bedroom activities that cause you to have these soul ties and emotions with people, and you feel that you are now responsible or accountable to act or behave a certain way because you've done these prior things ahead of time, which now you seem to have obligated yourself when you're nothing but a girlfriend, but you're acting like a wife. You're nothing but a boyfriend, but you're acting like a husband. I mean, you've done everything a husband would do when you're only in the courtship period. It's okay to prove yourself that I'm a man, that I'm the one, I'm the strong one, I'm the one that's going to be accountable, I'm going to be responsible. That's okay. Those things need to be known, but you're still not a husband. You have not vowed, you have not put the rings on, you have not gone and gone through the ceremony, all those type of things. But when you begin to take on the responsibility and the roles and acting like you're already a wife, already the husband or the wife, you're putting yourself ahead of the trail of the cart. We used to call it putting the cart in front of the horse instead of the horse in front of the cart or the wagon. This is what you're doing. You're working in a role that you're not really committed or actually in. You're doing all the things. How can I say this? There was a time in the history of families, and the way we was reared was that we understood that sex came after marriage, not before marriage. And when you begin to, in the day that we live in now, everybody is in this rush to have sex with someone they just met 2 months ago, 3 days ago, last night. When we put the cart in front of the horse, on the wagon in front of the horse, then we are creating an environment that's not even real. This is a fantasy, sensual condition we're putting ourselves in and obligating ourselves to a responsibility that is not reality. We're way ahead of time. And so now we don't know truth and reality from falsehood or pretend, fantasy, fiction. We don't know because we're now have put ourselves in that position. And so many relationships, even some Christians, are in these relationships like this and wonder why it isn't working. Why am I frustrated? Why do I keep going through 1, 2, 3 different relationships? 1, 2, and 3 different relationships. Why am I having these experiences? It's because you have practiced putting yourself in a position because you won't trust the process or time to prove the motive of the reality. That this person is the one for you. Or this person is stable and have dealt with some issues or have issues that need to be dealt with before we become that husband, the wife. These are just issues people are dealing with all the time. But if you go back and trail it and begin to watch the pattern, this is what you're beginning to see. This is what you're beginning to see. Bad behavior from bad practices that people do that put themselves in position to connect with toxic people because they do not allow the process of time to prove the motive, to prove the heart of the individual. We jump in too early. We don't know if they're focused on us or themselves. Do they have a game? And they're playing a game. We don't know because we jump in too early. We don't know, is marriage their true intent or they just want to have sex? We don't know because we jump in too early. We do not allow time to become the proven ground of the real intent or motive of the individual. We don't know their toxic areas because we jump in so fast and we commit our bodies and our emotions and our feelings to a relationship within a week or two of just knowing someone. And that really reveals just how toxic you are if you do that. It shows that you're not mature enough. You're not ready for relationship. So what are we looking for? Number one, we're giving time to discover their character. The real them. Your character is the real you. It reveals the real you. It's your character, your integrity, your honesty, your loyalty, your trustworthiness, your faithfulness, your commitment, dedication. Are you a one person? Can you be committed to one person? All of this is revealed in one's character, but it takes time to know people. It may not take you 5 years to figure them out and to know whether you need to marry them or not. But you need to give some time, more than 90 days. In most cases, more than 90 days. You know, you need to make sure that I go to the proper channels, that I'm not exposing my body or giving my body to someone that I'm not married to. You see, I know some people probably going through some falsehood in that area because got some people who can play good games in a long period of time. But you're going to have to become aware and conscious of the red flags, the character while you're in the courtship. What are we looking for? Discover their character. Do they take responsibility serious? Write these down. Discover their character. Do they take responsibility serious? Number 3, are they financially focused? Number 4, do they pay bills on time? Now, that may not sound like, wow, why I need to know that? Because statistics have also shown that the money issues are sometimes one of the number one issues why people divorce. It plays an important role in divorce and separations. Financial issues. And it's not always the footprint for every relationship or every divorce. It's not. But in the majority of them, money has always played a role. Money has always played a role. Do they have a job? Are they stable on a job? Are they on and off in different jobs? They're bouncing around from one job to another job to another job. Are they stable? Always in between jobs. Have they been on a particular job a good period of time? What about their temper or their attitude? Do they get angry quick? Do they rush and walk out the room when they get mad? What kind of temper tantrum do they have? Are they slow to anger or quick tempered? Those are things you understand. Do they get angry when you bring up certain issues? This is all in the courtship. Do they get angry when you bring up certain issues about certain things they do? Or maybe something about their past relationship that you may be curious or wondering about why he or she acted the way they do. Is there something that you experienced in the last relationship that you're responding from? What's in their past? We're closing with this. What's in their past that have you locked out? What's in their past that have you locked out that they're so hurt about, don't want to talk about, that it locks you out emotionally or mentally? It locks you out of that person's life. What are they dealing with? When we fail to ask the hard questions, then we really don't get the true answers to bring us to a place that we can make a solid decision whether this person is the one for me. You don't have time to play games. We're talking about your life, your future. So you have to go into a relationship very matured, very focused, and realize I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to waste my time, my money, or my emotions. And especially not my body. Listen, I appreciate you spending the time with me as we sit down and talk about and deal with therapy for relationship or relationship therapy. This is a big issue. It's an issue close to my heart as a pastor, as a father, as a husband, and a grandparent. When I'm seeing every day relationships that are so toxic. People are operating on the wrong side of truth that's causing generations and the next generation to be even worse off than this generation. What are we going to do? When are we going to wake up? When are we going to take this serious? That people's lives are at stake, the future generations are at stake when we fail not to take this serious about relationship and self-development. I'm Pastor Cowan, pastor Ever Increasing Life Ministry, right in the city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 6360 Greenwell Street, inviting you to fellowship with me each Sunday at 9 a.m., each Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. On live stream, as well as in the sanctuary on Sundays, but live streams on every Wednesday. Thanking you for inviting me in your home, on your job, in your business, or wherever you are, to spend this valuable time with me and Linda as we share God's truths for transforming lives. Remember, faith is our victory. Faith in God is our victory. We pray that you have a successful relationship going forward, and if you're in a courtship, you will make the right decisions. So I look forward to seeing you live in the sanctuary or either on virtual. Let me hear your comments. Let me hear your prayer requests. Go to our website and just look it over and see if that's what you can commit to, that you want to be a partnership with us as we go forward through prayer and intercession. And you praying for me, I'm praying for you. And we're here to give wisdom and counsel on these Sundays and Wednesday. As you tune in and stay focused. If you go to Facebook or YouTube, especially YouTube, hit the button. Let us know that you're enjoying the broadcast. In any other comment, let us hear from you. We'll be so glad to hear you and what your comments are. Until next time, God bless you, and we'll see you Sunday.